Have you ever stopped to think about how life can change drastically in just a few years? When I was a child, the world around me seemed like a hostile and lonely place. My name is Lucas, and since I was little, I faced challenges that many couldn't understand. I have Down syndrome, and this made me a target for bullying at school. The cruel laughter and disdainful looks from my classmates made me feel invisible, as if my voice had no value. However, what I didn't know was that this pain would transform into a powerful strength years later. School, which should have been a place of learning and friendship, became a battleground. The kids isolated me, and I often wondered if I would ever be able to make real friends. My dream was simply to be accepted and live a normal life, like any other child. I always admired the athletes and artists who shone on stage, and I dreamed of being one of them. But with every insult, that hope grew more distant. I felt the weight of sadness and insecurity, as if I were trapped in an invisible prison. As time passed, I decided that I didn't want to be just a victim. One event changed everything. A talent competition was announced at school. At first, I thought about giving up, but the idea of performing and showing the world who I really am inspired me. It was my chance to break free and express my true essence. With the support of my family and a teacher who always believed in me, I began to prepare. Nervousness consumed me, but I knew this was an opportunity to show everyone that I was more than just a child with a disability. On the day of the performance, my heart raced. I stepped onto the stage and, instead of letting fear take over, I let the music flow through me. In that moment, I was no longer the boy who was bullied. I was Lucas, the artist. The applause and cheers of support from the audience were like balm for my soul. I realized that life is full of new beginnings and that each challenge can turn into an opportunity. What was pain transformed into strength, and my journey was just beginning. Years later, I would surprise everyone again, but that's a story for another day. When I stepped onto the stage at that talent competition, I didn't just want to perform, I wanted to change the narrative of my life. The song I chose resonated in my heart, and when I began to sing, I felt the pain of rejection and bullying dissipate. The applause and cheers were like a breath of life, but at the same time, something inside me whispered that this was just the beginning. After the performance, things changed. Some people who had previously ignored me began to greet me. I finally felt like I had a voice. However, this new acceptance brought with it a series of challenges I hadn't expected. The sudden fame at school came at a cost. The expectations grew, and with them, the fear of failure. I wanted to continue surprising everyone, but the pressure began to weigh on my shoulders. One of my classmates, Anna, became a close friend. She was a talented artist but struggled with her own insecurities. Our friendship grew, but we also faced difficult moments. Anna started to feel threatened by my rising popularity. She had been the center of attention, and now it seemed like I was taking her place. One day, during a rehearsal, she said to me, with tears in her eyes, that I didn't need her anymore because I was a great artist now. I was surprised and saddened to hear that. I didn't want to lose a friend, but her insecurity was creating a rift between us. Meanwhile, the pressure to maintain my status as the school artist was increasing. I decided to enter a larger competition outside of school that could give me the chance to showcase my talent to an even bigger audience. But the more I prepared, the more my old fears resurfaced. What if I failed? What if the laughter came back? What would happen if I couldn't handle the pressure? These questions haunted me. Amidst all this, my family became my pillar. My mother always encouraged me, while my father taught me resilience. One day, he sat down with me and shared a story from his own youth when he faced challenges as well. He told me that what mattered was not how many times I fell, but how many times I got back up. Those words echoed in my mind, and I knew I needed to find strength within myself. But in a moment of desperation, I made a mistake. I decided I needed extra help to prepare for the competition and hired a coach, someone who promised to make me an even better artist. However, this decision turned out to be disastrous. The coach was extremely demanding and imposed a standard I couldn't keep up with. I was so focused on pleasing him that I started to lose the essence of my art. To make matters worse, he began to criticize my voice and the way I performed, making me doubt everything I had achieved. The lessons became an emotional battleground. Each rehearsal was a new struggle to prove I was good enough, but each day, I felt I was losing my connection to the music I loved so much. As the competition approached, I was so emotionally exhausted that the doubts became unbearable. The fear of failure consumed me, and the idea of stepping on stage again felt impossible. Anna, who had once been insecure, began to notice my struggle. One day, she showed up at my house with a smile and an idea. She suggested we rehearse together to remind ourselves of why we loved music. That simple idea touched me deeply. We rehearsed together, and as we sang, we laughed and shared our fears. The music became our connection again, and in that moment, I realized that true art wasn't about pleasing others, but about being authentic. The competition finally arrived, and I was nervous, but something had changed within me. I remembered my father's words and Anna's support. When I stepped on stage, I didn't just sing, I expressed myself. I sang with my heart, and at the end, the audience not only applauded but stood up in a big ovation. The feeling of acceptance and love I received in that moment was overwhelming, and more importantly, I felt truly free. That day, I realized that life is a series of ups and downs. The challenges I faced were not just obstacles but opportunities to grow and learn. My friendship with Anna strengthened, and together we understood that regardless of our insecurities, we could always support each other. Life is full of new beginnings, and I was ready for the next chapter of my journey. The competition had been a success, but the euphoria didn't last long. In the following days, a heavy silence hung over me. The applause and cheers I had received still echoed in my mind, but soon they were replaced by a feeling of emptiness. The pressure I felt to maintain the same level of performance was overwhelming. With each new day, the insecurity grew stronger, and in a moment of weakness, I made a mistake that would change everything. I decided I needed new challenges. Instead of relaxing and enjoying the victory, I signed up for a new competition, one much larger and more prestigious. It was a bold step, but I needed it. I wanted to prove to myself that it wasn't just a lucky moment. However, when I realized the magnitude of the event, reality hit me like a punch in the stomach. The level of talent was incredibly high, and I didn't know if I was ready for it. The preparation became an internal battle. I spent hours every day rehearsing, but each time I stepped on stage, I felt a growing pressure. I remembered all the criticisms from my coach and began to wonder if I could really do this. Doubt consumed me, and on an especially difficult afternoon, I decided I needed some time for myself. I went for a walk, trying to clear my mind. As I walked, I found a small park. I sat on a bench and watched the children playing. Their laughter was contagious, and I couldn't help but think about how music made me feel the same way. But at the same time, I realized that I had lost that connection. Music, which had once been a pure and true form of expression, had become a source of stress. In that moment, a revelation struck me. I was so focused on pleasing others and being perfect that I had forgotten why I started singing in the first place. Music had always been my refuge, a way to express what I felt. I shouldn't let pressure and competition destroy that. With a heavy heart, I returned home and sat at the kitchen table. My mother was there, preparing dinner, and I noticed she looked worried. "You okay, Lucas?" she asked, with a look that conveyed understanding. I couldn't hold back the tears. I explained everything: the pressure, the fear, the doubt. To my surprise, she just smiled softly. "My son," she said, "it's normal to feel fear. The important thing is how you deal with it. You don't have to be perfect. Just be yourself." Her words resonated within me like a mantra. I didn't want to be just an artist anymore. I wanted to be true. That night, I made the decision to change. I would no longer let myself be swayed by others' expectations. I wanted to sing the song that made me happy, the one that connected me to who I truly am. I realized that the true victory wasn't in winning competitions but in being authentic and true to my heart. With this new perspective, I began to rehearse again, but now with joy. I chose a song that spoke about self-acceptance and overcoming challenges. Rehearsing was no longer a heavy task, it became a celebration of life. Anna, noticing my change, joined me, and our rehearsals became a moment of shared joy. Instead of competing, we supported each other, and that strengthened our friendship. When the day of the new competition arrived, I was nervous but also excited. I didn't just want to perform, I wanted to express myself. When I stepped on stage, I looked at the audience and took a deep breath. The music started, and this time, I didn't sing out of fear of failing, but for the joy of being who I am. Applauded at the end, it didn't matter whether I won or not. What truly mattered was the freedom I had found. The competition not only challenged me but taught me a valuable lesson about authenticity and friendship. Life, I realized, is about the ups and downs, and the true victory is in never forgetting who you are, regardless of external pressures. After that performance, I realized I was ready to face any challenge life threw at me. Music would always be with me, not as a pressure, but as a path to freedom and expression. And, more importantly, I knew I had a friend by my side, ready to support me on any journey. The weeks following the competition were challenging. I was surrounded by a cloud of insecurities and fears. The pressure to maintain my level of performance consumed me, as if a shadow was always by my side. I decided I needed a new challenge and signed up for a bigger, more prestigious competition. But as the day approached, I realized I had rushed into it. The level of talent was very high, and uncertainty began to paralyze me. In a moment of desperation, I went for a walk in search of clarity. The park I found was filled with children laughing and playing, and I couldn't help but notice the genuine joy they emitted. At that moment, I realized that I had lost touch with the essence of music. Something that was once my refuge had now become a source of stress. What did I really want? The answer seemed so distant. It was when I went home and talked to my mother that everything changed. By sharing my insecurities and fears, I heard her comforting words, "You don't have to be perfect. Just be yourself." These words resonated within me, awakening something that had been dormant. I didn't want to be just another competitor, I wanted to be authentic. I decided to change my focus. Instead of worrying about winning, I wanted to reconnect with the music that made me happy. I started rehearsing a song about acceptance and overcoming challenges, and with each note, I felt the pressure dissipate. Anna, my friend, joined me, and together we turned our rehearsals into moments of pure joy. The competition became a celebration of who we were, and our friendship blossomed in the process. When I finally stepped onto the stage, my heart was racing, but not out of fear. I was excited. The music started, and instead of fearing what others might think, I sang with all my being. Applauded at the end, I realized that true victory wasn't in winning but in expressing myself freely. The competition taught me valuable lessons about authenticity, friendship, and resilience. I learned that success goes beyond trophies, it's about finding fulfillment and being true to myself. The challenges I faced helped me grow and understand that life is a journey full of ups and downs. Now, I knew I was ready to face any challenge, with music as my guide and a friend by my side, always ready to support my steps. This transformation not only changed the way I viewed music but also how I saw myself. True freedom lay in being who I am, and that was the greatest achievement of all. When I stepped onto the stage, nervousness took hold of me. The bright lights dazzled me, and the audience, a sea of unfamiliar faces, seemed to watch me with anticipation. For a moment, I felt the pressure return, like a shadow insisting on accompanying me. But, looking at Anna, who was in the front row, warmth spread through my chest. I remembered my mother's words, "Just be yourself." I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. The music began to play, and I let the notes flow through me. Each chord took me back to the essence of my passion. The lyrics spoke of acceptance, of the internal struggles we all face. As I sang, I realized I wasn't there to please others or to win a prize. I was there to express myself, to share my truth. As the song progressed, I felt I was freeing myself from all the insecurities and fears that had tormented me. I was no longer just a competitor, but an artist revealing myself to the world. The audience's applause began to echo, and the energy intensified. I looked at Anna again, and she was smiling, her eyes shining with pride. At the end of the performance, when the last note faded into the air, a silence hung for a second, followed by an explosion of applause. I couldn't hold back the tears. They weren't tears of sadness but of joy and relief. I had overcome my greatest challenge, the battle against myself. The true victory wasn't about the trophy but about discovering my own strength and authenticity. Music wasn't just a competition, it was a part of who I am. And there, on that stage, I finally felt free. When the performance ended, I realized it wasn't just the audience's applause that moved me, but the transformation that had taken place within me. The struggle against nervousness and insecurity taught me that true strength comes from being authentic and believing in myself. Every note I sang not only expressed my passion but also freed me from fears I had carried for so long. I thanked Donna with a look, knowing that her presence gave me the courage to be who I am. I left the stage not as someone seeking external validation but as someone who had found their worth. Music became a symbol of my journey, a reminder that true success lies in being true to oneself. If you have also faced challenges, remember, your story matters. Share your experiences and reflections in the comments. Let's create a supportive community together. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your interaction is essential for us to bring more inspiring content like this.